We are ready to kick off Masters Tour Montreal round number 1. Cannot wait to do this because not only are we going to be bringing you, at least one match to start, we'll be covering some other matches as the round gets played out, but there are hundreds of matches being played out over the course of today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And it's huge, not only to just see all these matches, so I'll see all these players, but also get all this data as well. We get to see how well the lineups do. We get to see who brought a crazy deck and it sucked, or who brought the lineup and it was godlike. It's super exciting when we kick off this round, I think.
You said that so menacingly. It needed one of these. The data. It needed one of those to go along with it. Yeah.
But our first match is going to be Glory versus hunterace as a first one. So that's kind of cool. I do enjoy a lot about Masters Tours as well. We get to see the regions face off, not only just the players. So hunterace kicking off there, having his druid banned out, Saul, and Glory with his druid also banned out. Kind of surprising seeing that suddenly, at least in this big one-match sample size we have, the druids are just gone.
Yeah, that's it. Story of the tournament now. Why is Druid being banned all the time? This is ridiculous. But yeah, I do want to dig a little bit deeper into hunterace's lineup because his build is out there. It's so out there, in fact, we didn't even know what to call his decks via archetypes. Yeah, but so he has the Face Hunter that we've looked at already. This build of Mage is very, very weird. The key cards don't quite do it justice there. It also has an Archmage Antonidas and a Sorcerer's Apprentice in there. It's kind of hybrid in that regard. And then his version of Priest, you do see it there, the Power Word Feast, which is a card that I've seen him in various streams saying this card is core in Priest. Like, you should be playing it. Cut any card for Power Word Feast, and you are actually improving your win rate. So he's definitely got a little bit of a different idea as to how these decks need to be put together.
Yeah, me and hunterace definitely on the same wavelength when we have our knowledge about cards. So I do believe I've said more than once that Powered Feast is fantastic. But most importantly, looking at Glory's lineup, and much more of a standard lineup for me. It was the Malygos Druid across the board for both players that was banned out, by the way, in case you didn't see that. So but for Glory, he's bringing, he's got Bomb Warrior, he has the Soul Demon Hunter, and he has the, the Tempo Mage that he's going to be playing there. So a much more sort of standard lineup from Glory, and I'm already looking forward to see how this plays off because hunterace, I'm not gonna lie, he's had some hit and misses with his crazy deck building at times, right? We've seen him create some of the strongest decks we've ever seen, and then we've seen him whiff and just lose because of a bad deck building choice. So it's one way or another, there's going to be sparks in this matchup.
Yeah, I think if he wanted to pin his relegation onto anything that was within his control, it wasn't really so much the way he played the game, it was the preparation coming into it. I do think he had some suspect decks. I think he was late to pick up on the zoo train when other people were doing that, and he wasn't. And then after that point, I do think he struggled, and I even spoke to him a bit where he admitted that he was kind of struggling as to what the third and fourth decks were in a lot of positions. But on the other side of that, as we mentioned many, many times, he invented the build of Combo Priest that essentially broke Grandmasters the season before that, right? To the point where Priest essentially had to be completely redesigned to the point where people had got sick of these kind of Divine Spirit combos coming around over and over again. So he definitely has it in him to be a game-breaking deck builder, and he's certainly willing to trust his instinct and trust his own data. And I think the time he's putting in sort of in EU mornings now, EU early morning streams, trying to brew up some of this stuff is, I think, really pushing him to the next level, whether it's the next level of good ideas or the next level of bad ideas. But obviously he's then got this chat that's also encouraging him to try out silly things. So I think it can be definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and we are going to see as well from Glory a slight difference, I would say, in a lot of the builds. There's just this Grom Hell Scream in his Warrior build, which is kind of cool to see as well. He's playing the Bomb Warrior overall, but it's just a nice little extra burst, pushing some damage as an option. The two Sword and Boards there as well are very useful cards, I think, in the current metagame. So cool build from Glory, but honestly, I do just want to see what this build from hunterace can do. It is the 2 of Galakron Priest with a few of those cards, but all eyes, at least in this first game, Saul, are just going to be on those Power Word Feasts for me. The Living Dragon Breath makes sense if you're expecting Turtle Mage especially, so that 100% makes sense, but not really going to have too much of an impact in this next game.
You would think not, no. I do think it's generally okay just if you're expecting Mage in general. Obviously, it's the blowout card, against Turtle Mage. There's still a lot of matchups. Tempo Mage rely on Ray of Frosts to isolate big minions, or they generate Frost Novas and Blizzards in games where they're behind, or their Prime freezes your board, and that's kind of their only out in a certain position.
Right.
So I do think it has decent applications against Mage in general, but yeah, certainly you are aiming at Turtle Mage when you put that card in your lineup.
Yeah, and again, just looking at the lineup overall, it's just it's a very odd one for me because Hunterace, he has this priest that we've discussed, but then he has like Face Hunter on the other side of that lineup, Malygos Druid, and then this sort of 50-50 tempo / Turtle Mage, and I just feel like these are just 4 Hearthstone decks. Like, I'm not sure unless you probably see something I don't, but if I could say what does this lineup do, is it confuses me. That might be the goal of the lineup, the way I see it, at least. All.
Yeah, I actually spoke to Hunterace before the tournament, and I was saying, like, do you have any particular strategies in mind for the tournament? And he said, yeah, number one thing is I just really want to confuse Raven and make him sound stupid on the broadcast. So he's nailed it,
touche,
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You win this round, Hunterace.
100% on preparation. We said, called it into question in GM, but he's achieving his goals absolutely this time around.
They're not going to give me any actual answer. I like it. That's the actual answer. Brilliant. And going back to Glory's had a recent success in Asia Pacific Grandmasters as well, and I'm sure he'll be looking to just add on to that with Masters Tour performance. And it might be easy to think, oh well, do the GMs care that much because they're already a GM, right? And especially if they're say not that fearful of relegation, but it's not only prize money, which is always nice, but when you can cement like just victories time after time, that's when you start to build a legacy, right? And especially in Asia Pacific, when a lot of eyes, quite honestly, are just almost always fixed on Surrender as the current like legacy creator in that region. I think players such as Glory, such as Alutimu, will be looking for just to state their claim really and just say, no, it's not just I've done well in an odd season of GM. It's I'm qualify for Worlds. I can place top 8 easily in a Masters Tour and really just build that up. And I think that is more important than I think a lot of viewers realize to these players. It's not just about, I get to just sit back and be in Grandmasters.
Yeah, not to mention, obviously, Hunterace trying to get back into Grandmasters. But as I mentioned earlier, you can break your fall as a Grandmaster if you do just perform well in Masters Tours, because you then put yourself back in that position where if you do have one bad season, if you do have the freak occurrence that Hunterace had of getting relegated from Division A, you then have that cushion underneath you, which is all of your Masters Tour earnings to potentially just slingshot you straight back into GM again in the next promotion period. So I think it is very, very important for these GMs to take part in these. And honestly, I think most of them just find these events really fun as well, just to be back in like the big open field and play something that's perhaps a little bit less high pressure for them than GM is on a week by week basis as well. So
these like free range GMs now because we've let them out into a big open field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We did see Hunterace throw away the 2 Power Word Feast, so I was expecting a full keep there. Honestly, started with 2 Power Word Feast in his opening hand, but no, very sensible mulligan there. And Hunterace, again, it's a. What do you make of this matchup? Sorry, with a slightly different build, but Power Word Feast doesn't change what Priest does really as an archetype right now. At least there's 2 off. But how do you feel it going up against Bomb Warrior? As Bomb Warrior we've seen has historically been the most banned.
It has been, yeah, and I think Hunterace's option to leave it up here is very, very interesting, especially since it doesn't seem he's teched ludicrously aggressively against it, and my new standard for ludicrously aggressive is Monsanto's lineup for this tournament. If you haven't seen that yet, go check out Monsanto's Twitter or check out his lists on the website if you want to have a look at what he's doing, because that is one of the most extreme hard target strategies I've seen in quite some time. So normally when we've seen Bomb Warriors get left up, it's being targeted a lot more aggressively than Hunterace is doing here. But I will say some of the small additions to his decks do probably help out in this matchup. When you look at potentially Archmage Antonidas as just another big threat in his Turtle Mage to be able to actually end the game on curve with Sorcerer's Apprentice and not just have to go all the way through the rigmarole of the Turtle Mage game plan against Bomb Warrior. And Power of Feast does allow you to be a little bit more aggressive in this matchup as well, and also get bigger Apotheosis swings if that's what it comes down to. So I think little techs just here and there in Hunterace's lineup might just make him feel like he has gained a few percentage points against Warrior.
Okay. And just one quick reminder before we really dive in the game is it was the Malygos Druid that was banned, and I think Malygos Druid is a reasonable fear for Hunterace's lineup as well. But here, I'm very interested to see how he decides to use this Apotheosis, because right now, obviously, he's full health. He doesn't need to heal against Bomb Warrior. You feel like you need to heal in the mid or late game. But right now, it does create a pretty significant-sized minion. So I do wonder what's the choice between... He could, for example, choose Brightwing and just play it. Or he could use Apotheosis to make one large dude. But the problem is then that's one Apotheosis already down for the match.
Right. I like it, though, just because it's a spider tank to begin with. It's like a really, really large minion, right? It's not like you're just apotheosising a 2-2 or a 3-2 in the early game. Like, that is a pretty huge threat for Bomb Warrior to have to deal with.
Yeah, and it is just interesting, because I do think you do have to consider what healing you have available to you, but I do like it as well, because outside of exactly a Blade Storm, this is actually very difficult to clean up.
It absolutely is, yeah.
The one... Okay, it's not a good thing, because that was about to be a terrible phrase in there, but the one positive he has is if Glory can't kill this, and he goes face instead, you're not really expecting the bomb to go off next turn. So although he'll be able to heal back through this 4 damage he's pushing, he is shuffling the bombs in, right? So he's achieving something, even though he is getting beaten up by this Living Flame.
Yes, he is theoretically still doing net damage here, even though it looks like that weapon swing is massively wasted in this position.
And also he does have Krasinov next turn, which is going to be huge. Not only buff his weapon, but most importantly have some kind of way with the weapon swing to kill this 5/7.
Yes. This is something that I didn't really think about initially either, but playing out the curve this way is actually pretty strong for the curve going forwards as well, especially if you were to stick an Apotheosis minion, because you get opportunity to potentially raise dead with your Apotheosis minion stuck on the board and then immediately re-heal all of that damage that you take away, which fits really nicely. Huntrace is going to turn that down, though.
Yeah, and in Priest, similar-ish to Druid, but not to the same level. The studies really do feel like they can like ramp you to a certain extent, especially with a hand like this, because he got to play his 5-drop on 4, and then have a 1-cost spell to cast. Now he's going to get to play his 6-drop for 5 mana and have a 1-drop spell to cast. So it really is going to make the curve very, very powerful indeed, with this Onyx Mage Scribe just sitting in hand ready for next turn.
Yeah, and you're kind of seeing Huntrace do it here, actually, is you can kind of loop that effect consistently with Kobold Spellkins and, stuff like Onyx Mage Scribe, where it continues to regenerate spells that you can use to ramp yourself over and over again. Whoa! Glory's just taking a beating here. Like, we've been focused on how much work the Apotheosis is doing in terms of Hunterace's healing, but this is what I said initially, is like he just put it on a spider tank and started hitting him with it. Like, Glory just finds himself all the way down at 11 now. Does have shield block, shield slam combination for the following turn, which is actually going to work out pretty nicely for him. Just because of the cadence of its weapon, he kind of has a free turn next turn to dedicate purely to removal. And then the turn after that, he has to start thinking about potentially re-equipping weapons.
Yeah, and this has got to hurt to see the Reborn come down on the Mage Scribe as well. But I do like this. And Glory, maybe the Reborn does change things, but before that turn, Glory wasn't in a bad spot, even though it looked like it with his health. Because if he can keep the board relatively clear, Priest doesn't often generate a ton of burst damage, right? They're not going to just generate like 8 damage from hand to kill you, really. So it means that all the while he's on low health, he has been stacking those bombs up into Hunterace's deck. And as soon as the board is big enough to brawl away, suddenly his health doesn't really matter, because there's nothing that's going to stick long enough to actually hit him. But the Reborn on the Mage Scribe has changed that.
It does just feel like Bladestorm is the #1 card he's missed this game. Also, I mean, Coerce as well, to be fair. He plays double Bladestorm, double Coerce. This is a quite controlling build of the deck. So not having either of those options to deal with the one big minion when one big minion came down, that's what's kind of put Glory in this position, because since then, Huntrace has had the fairly easy task of just playing 2 chunky mid-range minions every turn, which he's able to do very nicely. It's kind of, Control Warrior of any variety's kryptonite. can loosely define Bomb Warrior as a control deck here.
Okay, I am shocked that we didn't see a Shield Slam there. I'm pretty surprised, because there was a Shield Slam on the 3/5, and then if he draws Coerce or Blade Storm, he has the Whirlwind to actually clear off the Reborn. And
Right.
I get like the armor up has gained him more armor, but without shield block, when is the Shield Slam going to be any good in the foreseeable future? I was very surprised.
Yeah, it's a very good question. He might be trying to line up some kind of full clear by allowing the board to go wider and then look at some kind of Brawl Whirlwind combination to deal with the majority of the board and the Reborn. But I completely agree. Like, this is something that we've seen multiple times from Bomb Warrior players where Shield Slam just gets stranded in their hand because they don't capitalize it, even on a mediocre target on the one turn where they have it available.
Yeah, I've been playing a few builds of Bomb Warrior recently, and a lot of the time, if I can Shield Slam something and it maybe makes my weapon go face that little bit more often, I just do. Because that's just how strong it's more of a like a tempo tool as opposed to like a control removal tool, at least the way I play. But suddenly, that board is a little bit wider.
It is indeed.
And double... Oh, no, sorry. I thought it was a double Whirlwind then for some reason, but he drew the Coerce at last.
Yeah. He is going to have to brawl here, but hunterace kind of had the perfect response to this, where he was able to copy the Reborn minion with the Gift of Luminance. That's actually a pretty good outcome for Glory, honestly, because the fact that the copy did not resolve, did not get Reborn, means that that's pretty much minimum power on the board this turn.
Could just Whirlwind this away and just go face? Is he that bothered about the 1/1? Does mean he doesn't get to armor up, but... He's traded Sol! Did you see that trade?
I did. In his defense, there is another 4/1 that's going to need dealing with over the next couple of turns, which that Whirlwind can still line up against. Now, I imagine hunterace would really like to Murazond into some form of damage here. Ideally, just the second copy of Wrench Caliber in Glory's hand, just to be able to finish this game out with a little bit of unanswerable burst.
Yeah. It's just strange, isn't it, that looking at Glory's on 6 health, but feels relatively safe. I'm not saying he feels safe, but he isn't by any means dead. Power Infusion, it is just more damage.
Yeah, you've got to look at Shadow Madness quickly, right? Because it is technically burst damage when your opponent's at 6, but they don't really play minions that you can get huge value out of, like Lord Barov and Quartermaster is about as good as it's going to get most of the time.
Yeah, which
a
don't actually
bot,
cheat
maybe.
much. Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the time, you'll see like Dr. Boom played with a Whirlwind in this list, right? And just said, I actually want the bombs to just go and push as much as possible.
Yep.
I wonder.
Sword and Board opens up some interesting options here. Combos the Coerce, allows the Whirlwind to still be used afterwards to take care of the remaining 4/1, but that still requires another source of damage to break it open for the full clear. Full clear weapon go face.
Does he need to full clear?
No.
In his view, I mean, Sword and Board the shield away for later, and then just Coerce the minion, armor up, go face. Like,
agreed. Yep. Seems good. It's scary because you see like a chosen spell and 2 random spells in hand right now, and like, you know, board buffs are kind of, that's how Priest is able to deal damage right now, but the resource loss that you get from having to attempt a full clear on this board is absurd. Plus your weapon doesn't have to go face unless you want to shield slam a 1 health minion, which again, that shield slam not really doing a lot right now.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, you can't even say, oh, but he armored up. Well, it's like, right, but he armored up for 2 and took 3. Like, so in a weird way, you'd end up on round about the same kind of health anyway. Like, it's not like he's saved a ton. So, yeah, very interesting there. We'll see if it actually gets any use in the rest of this game. And Trace does have the option to go, like, pretty wide. He's seen 1 brawl. We can see there's another, of course. But he does need to do something, right? He can't just be like, oh, well, this 1/1's going to get there. More spells. Draconic Studies. Could not
Yeah, he's
only
also
open
picked
a good
up
dragon, but
He's also picked up pretty consistent healing off his generated spells so far, which is really nice to keep him secure because it doesn't feel like it, but a huge weapon has gone face quite a lot in this matchup. Not as much as it could have, certainly.
Have we even seen one bomb yet?
Not drawn, no. We saw one off the renew, but that was about it.
Yeah, we've kind of seen it.
Yeah.
That is another 7 damage there for Glory. There's a shield block, so maybe this is the time he'll shield slam a Spellkin. We're going to find out.
I think it has to be this time around.
He could, like, go face trade. Oh, that's too much, isn't it? To, like, trade Bladestorm Whirlwind. That's so much stuff, yeah.
So I think, potentially, Glory really does not want to look at use his Whirlwind here, which is an idea I can get behind, because he's so low. If he's not able to self-detonate his Blastmaster Boom, he probably just concedes to Soul Mirror, right? Like, Soul Mirror just happens and kills him to all the Boom bots. So I think Glory is really eager to either have Whirlwind or Bladestorm in his hand so that he can always activate that combo immediately. This is kind of the first turn he's had both of those options available together. So I would predict he kind of feels a little bit more liberal to use one of them now, potentially.
Yeah, so going into turn 10 as well, where Bladestorm can be used with Boom.
Yeah.
Very important too, because obviously up until this point, you had to have a Whirlwind available or it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, like, although Alex Straza looks good there, Hunterace has too many things to do, so it would have only generated him more. And obviously,
he also has like 5 bombs in his deck, so it doesn't work.
Oh, of course, yeah. Because I've not seen... I just saw one go off. The assumption they've all just gone off now. It's normally how my games go. Either none of them go off or they all do. Wouldn't even mind the Acolyte coming down here for Hunterace. I think this is
It's
just
so much worse, though. Oh, look at it. Look at it, Raven. It says 4 on it. Oh, it's so unpleasant.
Good.
No, I mean, you are right. Yep, that's fair.
But most importantly, again, like against Bomb Warrior, there aren't that many steal targets, even with a Wave of Apathy, right? You just don't often get anything. It's normally just a whatever that's stuck on the board. So I do like this. Just not only a taunt to maybe start that weapon attack, but also just another minion to, because he's not got that much damage to actually do to catch up here.
Yeah, I do think the taunt is the most important part, though, which, is why it is a little bit relevant that the nerf has come into play here. This is where the nerf does matter, when you're just kind of playing it out for tempo, when you want to drop it on 4, when you're playing it to just be a defensive taunt, as you are in this situation. Because, yeah, large number of bombs left in the deck. Glory still swinging another weapon here. Hunterace knows there's still copies of weapons available on top of that as well. So he finds himself in a position where he doesn't want to get hit in the face too much anymore. He's slightly worried about the number of bombs that can come out.
And now we're going to see Glory commit the Bladestorm and the Whirlwind because he has another Bladestorm in hand. So he can.
It does weirdly make me more confident about my read that that's where his head is at. He wants to just have that one option in hand to be able to auto-detonate his Blastmaster Boom if he draws it. Just so happened to draw the third one that turn, so he was able to use both instead of one, as I was talking about.
He did mention not only Hunterace had access to a reasonable chunk of generated heal, but also now there's that Renew plus the Galakron in his hand, which is going to be a nice little boost. He doesn't have to do it quite yet, as long as he ends the turn above 20, I think. But just having that, whenever he feels he needs to, get that extra armor.
Poor Hunterace here, I think, leaving himself inner fire outs open since he has Power Infusion here. He renewed the minion, so it goes to 6. Now Power Infusion will take it to 12, which means a generated inner fire would end the game. That's a big cost of a lot of healing that he's missed by not pointing that at his face.
I was a little bit surprised. I thought he was going to try and boost himself up a little bit more, like survive the 4 bombs plus a swing, potentially. But he's going to go for heal up to 22 with the hero power. Still. Now he's basically said to Glory, well, you have to do something this turn. All that
That is pretty nuts, yeah. There was also the Murazond option I was talking about, right? I believe this is the hard copy of Wrench Caliber that he played from his hand. Was there something played that turn that would have disrupted? There was, right? There was a good chunk of removal played at the same time. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because there was the Blade Storm Whirlwind, right?
Yes, exactly.
Looks like this is the only real play apart from Brawl Blade Storm, like which doesn't feel anywhere near as good as this Deathwing does.
Lethal out still now every turn for Glory. They're slim, but they're there.
There is just Galakrond go face. Can he develop any more minions?
He can, like, death it and keep his 3/4. Oh, sorry, you said Galakrond? I thought you said Murazond, which is kind of where my head was at as well. So you can just potentially have a 12/12 and try and end the game with his 12/12?
Yeah, I did look at that, but then I just wondered how relevant the armor is, that's all. It's a tough one, though. It's a tough one.
Agreed. You have to strike the balance, though, right? Like, you can't just be purely defensive when you're this close to ending the game, I think. Like, you have to at least think about setting up the lethal pushes yourself.
Quickly.
You could also just kill it and get a copy yourself and just heal as opposed to using the Galakrond.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
There's just weirdly a lot of options to do one thing that turn, which is one of those odd turns. But there's a Mind Flayer card. It's not really going to be too impactful. I guess it's another very playable minion.
Yikes.
And this just... Do you think this has to be Barov Bladestorm?
I mean, his hand has gone absolutely nowhere, has it?
Glory's face sums it up there, honestly.
Well, that's the question is, Barov Brawl or Barov Bladestorm? Which of the two removals is going to be more useful to you in the future, even if you are going with the removal line this turn, which I don't think is a given?
Oh. Murazond?
I actually like it. Murazond Hero Power, refill your hand.
Big dude, yeah.
You just play it and then refill your hand, have 10 cards again, go face, you're not drawing any bombs.
Yeah. It's just an 8/8, like you said. There's that moment where you go, oh, my health is enough. I need to just end this game and I'll kill them.
Yeah.
And
I mean, his health absolutely is
10.
enough. Yeah, exactly. If he's not going to draw any bombs, he absolutely has enough health, which is the thing that I didn't immediately catch on to last turn about the Galakrond line, is that he was able to start 10-carding the bombs, which is a enormous deal in this scenario, because the only way you can counter this as Bomb Warrior is to get enough pressure on to make them play cards again. And how does he do that with this hand?
What
Easy.
now?
Barov, Bladestorm, evil. Like, let's go. Just get the Quartermaster to solo hunterace on 24 health. Could happen.
Yeah.
Just get the lackey as well, which opens up options. You might get bad lackeys, but even a taunt lackey wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, I'm starting to think like how dire is the situation, because you could go like Quartermaster Brawl and win the Brawl, and then also play your lackey that turn, have it be Dragon Lackey, and then you can actually play like a big threat next turn, which will cause hunterace to have to react and maybe open his hand up. Like I have no idea. Glory seems so far behind in this position.
Like, this feels bad, but it is a 3-1 and a 2-3 on the board, right? It is something that ends up sticking. We can see it can get cleaned up, but I think it's the best he had. He did only get the Kobold Lackey, which is, although generally one of the better lackeys, not in this scenario. Really wanted either Draconic or the Spell Lackey, right? The Ethereal.
Maybe.
And now, Huntress has to consider whether he can or wants to still have a full hand. I imagine he wants to. So on that note, can he just like Pain Hero Power? Take 2?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Would you rather use the Blade Storm instead in that situation? You could also just like Wave of Apathy hero power. You could also just Kaj hero power if you're not too fussed about the 5 damage. The problem is you are kind of fussed about the 5 damage because Dr. Boom, or Blastmaster Boom, sorry, is still kind of in range of just killing you at this point.
And that's one of the reasons as well that I do like the Blade Storm, like holding the Blade Storm. Although, to be fair, Soul Mirror would kill the solo Boom anyway. So there is an answer. It's just you. Even if you don't die from the boom bots, you do realize that there's like a 7/6 on the board, right? Like, there needs to be some kind of recognition.
Yeah.
I wonder now with that Horde Pillager whether Glory's like, wait, so 3, 6, 9 damage? Okay. And instead of just sacking off the bomb idea and saying, well, my weapon does do damage.
What now?
And looking at extremes, but I imagine it's not at the point for Glory where he has to like trade with his face into the 3-1 and then lackey face just to stick a 1-1 to the board. Probably a little bit extreme.
I mean, is it?
Well, he's taking...
Like, this just kind of seems right to me. He needs as much board presence as he can because he needs to make Hunterace play cards at this point. Because I'm sure Hunterace is even keeping track of this, but like Glory knows he doesn't have the boom activator in his hand. So he knows, you know, step by step, first all the bombs are getting melted away slowly but surely anyway, so his Blastmaster Boom is losing value. Secondly, he doesn't have the instant activator, so even if he does get a full board of bombs, he's likely to just die to it from the Soul Mirror on the other side anyway.
Right.
So he needs to make Hunterace do something. He needs to make him play cards here, and I think the only way to do that is just to be as aggressive to board as possible.
Yeah, it's probably the correct thing. I just thought he could have maybe started with Lackey the Minion, save the 3 damage to his own face, and then play the, you know, maybe swing for 3 damage and then play the 4-2. So he just sacrifices the 1-1, but did it a little bit of a different way. Whirlwind going to come down from Hunterace.
Ooh, open hand.
Minions did do the job though, right? Hunterace is now playing cards, which means bombs can go off. Very important. Still not really what he's after, although the Lackey and the Sword on board. Maybe he does have to take another 3 and just armor up. And then he has the Sword on board to kill off the 4-2.
Does kind of win board again, right? But how important is that now? Maybe now it's just time to think about damage again, but like the hand is just so low quality that it feels like whatever you're doing, you're playing to some kind of top deck, right?
Well, what? Oh, well, you'll want to save 1 because he does have Grom as well, right?
He does, yeah.
He has Grom. I was just looking. He isn't running Galakron, which is a big deal, right? Because it means that he doesn't have that version to go, okay, draw Galakron, and then just chunk 3 damage to face every single turn, which means Hunterace can't just sit and play this slow game.
Right. I love how feeble
the 1-1.
I love how feeble Priest is sometimes, though, Raven. Like, Hunterace has had Glory at like single-digit health totals for the last like 8 turns, and just has not been able to finish the job because he's playing Priest.
And that's what I was saying earlier. What were we on, like turn 6, 7, and Glory was on like 11 health. I was like, oh, he's actually fine because he clears the board, right? He clears the board.
Yeah.
Like, the only issue, the only problem when low health is a real fair versus Priest is when Priest has a board made, like, because you're going to take the damage again and again. Hey, though, Hunterace working out whether he can take 1 from this kobold. It's like,
Yeah, that's the question, right? Is 1 from a kobold versus 5 from a potential bomb, but you also factor in that you're developing board and maybe threatening lethal yourself if you actually kill the 1/1 and develop your own cards. Like, it's actually a pretty complicated equation in that situation.
It is, because on the basis, you could just think, well, that kobold lackey is 1 less bomb from boom, right? But then, do you want that because you have Soul Mirror? And also, if you leave it up, then the board's not as good to what he's doing now. So it was, again, very, very complicated as well. He does have that powered feast to help. Glory now has the Grom. Not going to have the sword and board combo this turn, but maybe he just can't go for it.
One thing's for sure, he has to brawl here.
What now?
The only other option is using up that sword and board, which I'm pretty sure he does want to have earmarked. He goes to 6. 6 is a million against Priest.
It's a million against a Priest that can do 5. Glory. I don't know whether that's him not being happy or just being in a little bit of disbelief about how this game is currently going.
Oh, 0 mana. 8/8 off the hero power as well.
That's something that can actually potentially end this game.
And also, I don't think Glory has any AoE removal left now. That's 2 Brawls, 2 Blade Storms, right?
Yep, I believe so.
I think the Giant outside of... Has he got 1 Coerce left, I think? That is, outside of that is relatively safe, so to speak. Especially if he's pushing 5 on this minion.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah, he's seen Barov as well, so
yeah.
0 risk, really, just going all in here. The only risk at this point, I believe, remains in Hunterace's own deck, plus the burst damage that can come at him from Glory this turn, and I think Glory will be left with no choice but to just max damage face and hope this turn.
I both love and hate these turns as Bomb Warrior. Love them when they go right, hate them when they go wrong.
And you see, I think that is the resignation from Glory, that has to be the situation.
It's not an overly complicated equation, is it? If you look at his hand, he can't kill these minions, and he can't out-armor them, so,
Yep.
Gotta go all in. 3 damage. What breakpoints does this put him at? He'll do 10. He'll do 13.
13 puts him to 9.
So 2 bombs regardless, right?
Yep. Shield Slam for good luck.
Yep. Get it?
And now we wait.
Breath held.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
And
That means Hunterace is going to take out game number 1 with his Priest. And honestly, what a weird game, Sol, because the game looked like, Hunterace had a really good idea with that tempo plan early. He did use the Apotheosis quite early to put on that aggressive pressure. And it was like, okay, well, either the board's going to get cleared up and Glory's just going to push tons of bombs, push damage, draw boom, end the game, or the board's not going to get cleared up and Hunterace is going to keep piling on pressure and win. None of those things happened. The game kind of just dribbled off, I guess, into that slow, like neither player really committing too much. Not because Glory didn't want to, but because he couldn't. And Hunterace holding onto those 10 cards to, diffuse the bombs on draw. So a really weird ending of the game, but I think a very well played one on Hunterace's side as well. Just knowing that he could go for that 10 cards and not really get punished for it in that moment.
Yeah, it's always a tough decision, right? Because again, it's not like he had any kind of inevitability from that position. I think that's the easiest spot to 10 card against Bomb Warrior with, where it's like, okay, if I just live 3 more turns, then I just have this guaranteed game-ending damage or whatever, right? Like you have that
fatigue,
kind of inevitability.
right?
Yeah, fatigue or whatever else it is that reaches inevitable conclusion. Hunterace absolutely didn't have that. He was going to have to develop a board at some point to win that game, because even though Glory was relatively close to fatigue, Hunterace still had to tank the Grom damage and potential Blastmaster Boom damage as well, so he was by no means locked up winning that on fatigue. So he did still have to pick a point where he was going to start redeveloping again to end the game. So I think he waited until he drew 1 bomb in the end and then started to push again. But it's always a pretty tricky one to when you want to 10 card against Bomb Warrior.
Yep, and if you look at that deck list there, I think Huntrace might have been playing that. Remember that game you used to play where it's like, oh, if I combine these two animals, is this like the strongest animal ever? If you gave it, you know, the Chimera effect, I guess. And I feel like that's what he did with that Mage deck, because it's like the top half of the list looks like a Tempo Mage, and the bottom half looks like a Turtle Mage. So I am very excited to see this play there for the first time, at least for my eyes. I haven't caught Huntrace's last few streams, but I don't think he's been streaming this list as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I don't often catch it that much, but I have watched occasionally, and I certainly haven't seen this deck coming up either. But yeah, super weird list where he has the full turtle package with the Blizzards, the Frost Novas, and the Potion, obviously, but then Sorcerer's Apprentice is in there as well, alongside Archmage Antonidas, which, like, if you want to break it down, that's the best way to describe it. It's standard Turtle Mage plus Apprentice and Antonidas. I think every other card in there is in one or the other builds of pretty standard Turtle Mage at this point. So just playing kind of that extra Fireball burst for matches where he feels like he needs it, needs to end the game a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and Glory, meanwhile, on this Soul Demon Hunter, on a build I do quite like for this tournament, with those Battle Fiends, the Mana Feeder Pantheras, the One Makers. Like, you generally have that early aggressive minions to get these kind of starts exactly, which not only push extra damage face, but contest board, right? I think in the, the initial builds of Soul Demon Hunter, it was very much, does this thing buff my weapon to go face? No, okay, I'm not going to play it. Whereas now I really do like these earlier minion focuses here, because again, you can already see Huntrace is getting pressured quite early on in this game.
Five health being dropped here from Glory, which is very nice, but he knows the presence of the arcane missiles will mean that this is likely a clear if Huntrace does want to end up going Firebrand, and Huntrace does.
Yeah, I don't see why not at this point.
No.
Also, with his hand, nothing he particularly wants to hold coin for. I think it would have been nice to coin out, for example, Jandis, if the board wasn't as aggressive from Glory in this early game. But yeah, I like this. He has a second Firebrand. He could also wait, right? Leave it and then just have second Firebrand Arcane Missiles next turn.
It's fair, yeah.
As ever, I feel like Sol, the spider tank shape is just good at the moment. Although Ref is going to deal with it if he wants to. Oh no, Hero Power, of course.
Yeah.
Ref is just going to get some damage to face.
Just Hero Power here and preserve the 2-1. Very nice indeed. This is the deceptive part of this deck, though, is that Huntrace is just kind of winning on tempo right now. Obviously, he's not up against the most efficient tempo deck in the world.
Right, and I think the problem Huntrace needs to be aware of, and I'm sure he is all this is just early minion damage he's taken. Like, the weapons haven't even getting going yet. Like, he's not started taking the big swings. He does run double Kartuk Defender and the double Earthen Ring Farseer, so he has health, gain. He has heal available to him in the deck. He's probably just hoping that it's not going to go straight into, a weapon or a skull, and then the big burst turns start coming out with those twin slices, because that might be a little bit too difficult to hold on to, because currently, outside of that heal, and I guess the Kartuk's taunt, there isn't a way for him to, he doesn't run Frostbolt, right? There's no way for him to freeze face and draw this out a little bit longer from Glory.
Right.
2 Lapidaries. It's just a lot of damage if he wants to aim it face.
It is. It is indeed. And this is, as we mentioned, there is a newer school build of the Mage that's come around that we were potentially highlighting earlier, where Ice Barrier is played over one of the copies of Freezes to give it a bit of extra ability against the aggro matchups, a little bit more protection against bombs, and pretty helpful in this particular matchup as well. But here, Huntrace is playing the classic package of Potion of Illusion, Frost Nova, and Blizzard, so he doesn't really have that much protection against people going base. I like Illusion on the 2-5 here. Obviously, the feeling is that the 2-5 is potentially a high-quality minion since it has charge, but once it deals its 2 damage, which it's going to do there anyway, it is just pretty much the worst of the 2.
Poor Warlock.
The skull go down off the top is huge, though, because Glory doesn't need to... Okay, that's also a good pickup. Let's just hold the phone for just a second. Clearing that up is very nice. Also gets the information on the image as well. But I was just going to say, he doesn't need to do all the damage super quick. He's just getting the big swings in when he can. And that's why Skull is so powerful, right? Because you can get all those big, powerful, either the weapons or the twin slices for free and so on. You can get all those for so cheap. You can just apply like 2 big burst turns, which will be very difficult for hunterace to actually stave off, especially looking at his hand right now.
And we did receive some hot leaks from Derek, who has the inside tracked to hunterace here, who mentioned that honestly he feels like hunterace just isn't super experienced with Turtle Mage, and hunterace has mentioned to him he's really scared of doing the combo unless it's like perfect scenario because he thinks he's going to mess it up. So it sounds like he's just playing Antonidas Apprentice because that's a combo he knows how to do, as opposed to the full like Turtle Mage execution, which is, I guess that's one way of looking at it.
I'm the first person to say you should play what you know, like in a tournament setting, so no complaints on my end. It's led to a very interestingly built deck, I'm not going to lie. But now Lapidary plus the Chaos Strikes, that's 7. He's starting to get close with this Cane as well, starting to just stack up damage, isn't he? And this is the... Although a lot of players, I'm sure yourself included, sort of think Demon Hunter's like, oh, just go face, like, blah, blah, blah. I do think this is the fun bit for me, is just doing the almost like backwards counting of working out exactly how to spend your mana each turn to set up the best damage combos to actually finish the game.
Wow.
And sometimes that is simple.
Basic Edition is fun, Raven? You must have loved primary school.
Oh, yeah. That was the smartest I've ever been. Blizzard gonna come down and stall these minions out, but again, like, there's still no... Although there's an ooze in hand for hunterace, there's no weapons been played for Glory, so he's still got all that damage. Same with the Twin Slices, the Chaos Strike. Like, all these minions have been doing a great job so far. Just needs to draw into some of these burst damage tools from hand to be able to get this job done.
Hide behind yourselves. I will still find you.
That's now pushing 6, puts hunterace all the way down to 5. He does not have a Kartut yet. Nope. Which really was, I mean, there's a Consume Magic we can see in Glory's hand, but the Kartuts were, I think, one of the cards that would have provided Glory with the most problems, honestly, with how to, not only the taunt, but combined with the double heal as well.
Yes, absolutely. He does draw Poke Out here. That's kind of one of the issues with the Archmage Antonidas, is that it's one of my big criticisms of it just on instinct, is that any expensive card that you add messes up your Poke Out situation. Right, because his Poke Out will now draw his second Turtle, then his Archmage Antonidas, which means his second draw is not a Blizzard or a Kartut Defender, where in a lot of positions, you kind of always want your second, third draw, whatever it is, to be one of those defensive cards. Like, that's very often crucial to you mapping out your path through the game.
Yeah, and speaking of mapping it out, this Consume Magic is just sat waiting for a Kartut, really, isn't it? Just say, okay, you play Kartut, gone, finished, next game, moving on, because Glory is just set up right now. Yeah, Swamp Ooze is going to be able to clear off the weapon, but on 2 health, like, it's not going to buy him that much time.
He still has to Poke Out here, though, right? Even though things get slowed down, like, he still draws Kartut Defender quicker on average if he plays Poke Out. And he doesn't know about the Consume Magic. Maybe he thinks he needs to draw Kartut Defender exactly next turn to win the game, in which case playing Poke Out means that you definitely don't do that.
Yeah, I was also trying to work out if the Wand Maker can get him anything good next turn as a really long shot, as a 1-mana Wand Maker. But I don't think so.
Job done.
Any of the weapons? That'll also do it.
Yep.
Glory gonna even the series up 1-1 with a win with that Demon Hunter. And honestly, is one of the tough things with this Mage deck is, and I think it's why there are these different builds being adapted already. There's the Ice Barrier build, been played super recently, is it's very difficult, I think, to make it consistent in a variety of matchups, right? Like you can do really well in the control slow matchups because if you just understand how to execute the game plan of your deck, you'll win. And then in the aggro matchups, that's where I think the debate is how do you actually defend against anything aggressive? Do you want, Doomsayers in there? Do you want to go for the Kartuts instead that might be a little bit too slow in some matchups? Like, what do you even need? And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of players continue to mess with this Turtle Mage list.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing the Ice Barrier Cloud Prince version appear, and some people go with that, right? Is that, like, you can beat board-based aggro decks, no problem, because you're a really efficient tempo deck yourself, and you have Imprisoned Observers and Firebrands and all of these things that can take over the early game. What you struggle against is just me damage you face. Like, that is a problem if that's all the opponent's deck is able to do. So that's where we're seeing the Ice Barrier list come into play, and in particular, hunterace's version of Mage is about as far removed from that as you can possibly get, because not only does he not play the Ice Barrier, he plays one ooze, he plays no Bone Wraiths, for example. Like, he just has the Kartu defenders as kind of defensive options at that point. So it does seem like, in particular, hunterace's version has a pretty big weakness to direct damage. And speaking of direct damage, Raven, the boy is back. The king is back. No, not this one. The original king of face damage. The Face Hunter is coming out here from Hunterace.
Yeah, and this might look a little bit weird or sound weird, I guess, but I think the Hunt has a really good matchup into Bomb Warrior, or at least most Bomb Warrior builds, because you just go too fast, and like swinging a weapon into Hunter just doesn't cut it, and the whole deck is built around you swinging your weapon. So that's the real problem for me in this matchup that I fear for Glory in this one, because I do think, at least in my experience, Hunter has done extremely well in the Bomb Warrior one.
Yeah, I do think he's playing a reasonable build for it. He has the one Whirlwind, 2 Sword and Board. Like, this is a relatively low curve version of the deck, whereas you can see some people get a bit greedy for it. I think ultimate anti-aggro variety, like Risky Skippers and Armor Smiths, come into it as well, and then you have Ankar, which you can then potentially Corsair Cache. If your Corsair Cache hits Ankar in the early game, you probably beat just about any aggro deck at that point, just with the efficient board clears that you have available. But obviously that's a huge opportunity cost in other matchups where you're not then guaranteeing your Wrench Caliber as much of the time. So more and more people are now moving away from the Skipper list towards the Sword and Board Coerce kind of list instead, but certainly not having access to I clear your small minions and retain a board myself, one of which is an Armor Smith that you have to kill.
Exactly.
That's a swing turn that quite often Face Hunter is not able to deal with, whereas just whirlwinding their stuff, just brawling their stuff, whatever. They'll press the hero power again, they'll load up some more minions, they'll load up an Eaglehorn bow and swing it at your face. Like, they're perfectly prepared to keep doing that.
Yeah, and one thing as well is because of the way Scavengers has worked, pretty much with the weights built a lot of the time, we do see here, just having a quick check, there's the Wappotingers, of course, which are just, what becomes 1 mana, 2 3/3s, but for me, the really big important one just is the Scavengers into Face Stalker, because Face Stalker, for me, is the backbone of the deck, even though that might sound a bit weird as the Face Hunter list. But it does so much, not only being an annoying minion to deal with, but also with the help of, for example, the tour guide especially. Like, you can get off very quickly, and suddenly, the freezing traps just make the trades into the Scavengers not really work for the minion-focused ones. And then that has then swung again and then activated another secret. All the while, that's actually thinning your deck could make you draw that much more powerful as the minion plus damage. I don't know, this deck's super powerful, and I think it's going to do well in this tournament overall, never mind this series.
I just, out of curiosity, just looked up some HS replay stats on the different builds of Warrior in this matchup. So I'm on a relatively low sample size. It's a couple of thousand games, but Face Hunter versus Bomb Warrior is 73% for the Face Hunter Diamond through Legend.
Right.
Face Hunter versus Skipper Bomb Warrior, 46% in the same rank range and the same sample size. Like, that's such an insane drop-off for essentially the same build of the deck, just put together slightly different.
Yeah, it is huge, though, because already the problem is, like, what's Glory's plan here? Equip Wrench Caliber? Like, so what? Like, and then the problem is you're trading Wrench Caliber that you've equipped for 4 mana. So it's already probably too late into like 1/1s and 1/3s, which is horrible because you can't race the Hunter either. It's so nutty, this matchup. It's so hard.
Yeah, so just pointing out mulligans, Hunterace held on to the Polkelt here, just trusting he was going to get enough early curve going on that he just wants to draw the game enders consistently. That's what Polkelt does in this deck. Polkelt draws you Dragonbane, Kill Command, Eagle Hornbow. So you draw the biggest minion in your deck, the most threatening minion in your deck, and then your highest damage cards back to back to back as soon as you play Polkelt. Hunterace choosing to keep a hold of it here, and since he had the 1-drop Brocken already, makes sense to me.
I actually really like the pack tactics and the Cub this turn. Voracious Reader is just not really needed right now when his curve looks so good. He could equip the secret, which causes this weapon to do very little, if not buff your side of the board a lot of the time. And then he can Polk out next turn, and he gets into the Dragonbane, and then once all that's done, he has the Voracious Reader as a backup card draw. I don't think it's one of those games, because he kept Polk out, that he needs to play Voracious Reader this turn.
He can literally just, like, on, turn 6 or something, he can just play his Reader and draw double Kill Command, right? Like, it's
right, that's
pretty
what
nuts
I mean.
if it lines up that way.
Because of the Polk out, he doesn't need card draw because he won't have the mana. Hero power, wow.
Did he count it? I mean, I admit I did, and I also admit that that's absolutely a thing you should be doing already, is just to start counting through the damage, especially... Like, I've only played this a little bit. Like, I've played a ton of Face Hunter in my time, okay? But this particular version of the deck, not quite so much. And it did occur to me that, like, once you have Polkelt in your hand, that Face Hunter maths that you do have to do actually becomes so much more solvable, right? Because you're not thinking about average damage from your deck, you're thinking about guaranteed damage from your deck. And it's something that Hunterace may have done there and just factored in that 2 guaranteed damage from the hero power just gets him there.
And also, there's, as we can see, there was the attack and then Blade Storm, which would have cleared the board, even with the pack tactics. But I don't know if, for me, like, if that was the main thing, that seems a little bit far-fetched, because I think you don't really play around that a lot of the time. I do like the Polkelt here, of course, from Hunterace. There's the second Blade Storm, but it's only going to get worse for Glory from here.
One refer, please. Unlucky. I'm going to hand dump here.
So going to be draw 2. Pretty nice.
Seems good. This is going to be 2 of his bows and his kill commands.
Yeah, and you already start to see, right? It does depend on how Glory plays this turn, but generally, there's Dragonbane hero power or Eaglehorn Longbow kill command that next turn, and then, you know, depending on how empty or full the board is, you can follow it with the Dragonbane later. So it is just all damage.
When did this happen, Raven? I'm going to keep bringing this up. I've known you a long time. I've cast with you a long time. I've talked about Hearthstone with you for even longer. You never used to call it Eaglehorn Longbow, and it just, like,
because I never play with it anymore. That's why.
Okay. Just happened one day, and now you can't stop doing it.
It's because, yeah, I know. It's because, yeah. My question, does this weapon last forever if you have a dragon? No, then I've not played it, right? I've not played it for months, maybe even years.
Okay, fair point.
I must choose.
This is the problem. What, the tools just aren't there. The board isn't brawlable. Even if he had a wrench caliber, it would make this turn better. Don't get me wrong. He can swing into the Voracious Reader. But if the secret's pack tactics, he's just took more damage.
Right.
It's like, it's so awkward for the warrior to actually take this apart without the risky skipper armor smith / minion AoE.
Right. I do like this option from Glory, just to kind of ignore the board for one turn here. Obviously, he knows that the contents of Hunterace's hand are almost exactly at this point. He knows the far left card is Dragonbane, 100%. And the other cards are all combinations of Eaglehorn Bow and Kill Command at this point. Like, Glory has that information. So keeping these minions on board right now, just like counterplaying a couple of small minions into Hunterace's board, is actually pretty annoying here for Hunterace, because he doesn't really get a clean Dragonbane hero power. And Eaglehorn Bow Kill Command, if that's the turn as well, is also a little bit inefficient. Although the Eaglehorn Bow is probably the most appealing thing this turn, because the secret wasn't dealt with.
Exactly, and that's the drawback. I wouldn't even mind hero power this turn, honestly. I think Hunterace has got the time. There's no real mega rush right now.
Yeah,
and there's no wrench calibers been swung. Your deck's not full. Oh, he's even just using the mana
wants to
to
draw.
re-equip the weapon.
Yeah, just to draw a card
Okay.
here. Seems fine.
I mean... Okay. I guess it's fine. I guess the point I was also leading to as well was I don't think hunterace needs to rush this game right now because I don't think he's anywhere near in trouble for the foreseeable future. So I don't know if he needed to re-equip that weapon there. It definitely wasn't terrible, but I think he could have just gone with hero power, pushed the extra 2 damage and been more than okay.
Just draw
That's
a
what
card,
matters.
right? Would you sacrifice 2 damage to draw 1 more card in that situation? I think it's probably
but
right to do so.
Is it drawing a card that's ever going to be an impact, right? Like,
I mean,
he always
possibly.
draws
He wants to get through to his beasts at some point, right? For the 2 kill commands. Ooh,
okay.
That's a big deal.
Well, suddenly-
That is an enormous deal. But yeah, just to finish that point, I think like drawing cards gets him closer to Scavenger's Ingenuity or Phase Stalker itself, which is then the activator he needs to be able to cash out the kill commands for full value. So I think drawing the card could potentially be relevant.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't really mention the commencement in Glory's hand, which I think he ripped there and then was very relieved to see the outcome. I think, you know, he does have a couple of big minions in there, of course. He has 7/7 Blastmaster Boom, that's already in his hand, so it's really just Deathwing Mad Aspect and the Grom for the big minions that actually could have locked this out.
Oh, okay.
Yikes. Alright, 10 damage indeed.
I mean, it's going to happen, right? At least get rid of the minion.
Yep. So now,
Yeah,
is there ever a counter-offensive potential from Glory? I don't think so, right?
that's the problem. Like, this sounds like I'm being harsh, and I'm really not. But Glory hasn't really achieved much this game, has he? Or it doesn't feel like it anyway. He's been on the defensive so much. He is starting to, now that the Wrench Caliber's quit. He's not completely dead yet, but he knows there's 2 kill commands in hand. He knows he's taking a ton of damage this turn.
And that did, of course, reshuffle the deck for hunterace. He got a ton of pole kill
it's
value
just
out
lethal.
of it. He got a ton
I
of
thought
pole
you-
kill value.
I thought he was one off.
No,
Doesn't matter.
he is just simply dead. Nothing that Glory could have done about it that turn. It all ended up being pretty irrelevant, and I think you can see
Wow.
why that's such a miserable matchup from the Hunter side, because Glory honestly had a lot of things go his way that game. The upgrade Bladestorm turn looked pretty powerful for him. It was a really, really efficient board clear in the early game. He hit shield blocks, he hit key removals, he ripped a commencement into probably the best possible outcome in his deck. But
Yeah.
Huntrace, all he really had to do was keep Polk out, and that game looked pretty much over from that point because he had such an aggressive start with the 1-drop alongside that as well.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I would like to know if that keeping Polk out is something that hunterace or any of our top players would do versus a risky skipper list. Because there are, again, kind of pros and cons to that. Do you want to go faster than a potential risky skipper draw can happen? Or do you want to go, like, slower so it's more consistent versus the potential armor gain? So, maybe we see that this weekend if there's people bringing those builds, but we'll have to get to that at a bit of a later date. Whereas for now, hunterace is going to be back on his Mage going up against, one of 2 Glory's decks. And maybe Sol, this Mage is going to be the make or break for hunterace, not in this series only, but maybe in this whole tournament.
It could be. I think Turtle Mage has got a lot of story left to tell throughout this expansion of Hearthstone. It's came out, started out as a meme. No one really took it seriously. A couple of streamers picked it up. Xanananan has played it for quite a long time, has been doing quite well with it. But of course, Eddie is the player that rightly so gets the majority of the credit for opening a lot of people's eyes to the fact this was not just a meme deck. And I think the list has got refined and refined and refined, and now there's even offshoots of the deck where there's, the Doomsayer build, the very tempo-heavy build, now the Ice Barrier Cloud Prince build that's appearing around that as well. Even, say it very quietly so no one hears, the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron build that is a possibility for you to play as well. But I think potentially, over time, we will see this boiled down to maybe 1 or 2 different lists that are kind of metagame appropriate. And if I had to take a guess, I don't think Sorcerer's Apprentice are making the cut.
Yeah, I would, with all my in-depth Turtle Mage knowledge, I'd probably agree with you on that one. We are going to dive straight into that one. Sorry for just missing the mulligan there, but we can't see the choices, but we can see how it panned out. And again, does Huntrace just start each game with Polkelt now? Is that just the way he plays the game? Is that a new deck building archetype?
Yeah. It turns out in Norway, Lawkeeper Polkelt is actually just a quest. It's just flagged that way in the game client.
Card actually becomes pretty sick. We do see, though, the Corsair Cash into Wrench Caliber, much more of what Glory wants to see in this style of matchup versus struggling, against the aggression of the Face Hunter.
If power is what you seek, knowledge.
Well, Huntrace says clock time. So I didn't even have time to raise the pros and cons of doing this on curve, because essentially as soon as you do this, you're on a clock. There's a point where you're going to draw Tortolan, you have your Antonidas already, you're going to draw your other Kartu, Blizzard, Jandis, then you're going to start drawing your Potion of Illusions at that point. So that's kind of your end game at that point of when you have to have actually locked out the game by potentially.
Right, and this is where hopefully we can go to the school of Turtle Mage right now, because I am my question is, if Huntrace is planning to do the thing,
doesn't matter.
Right?
I take it all back. I take it all back. There's a Wrench Caliber on the other side. That's completely irrelevant. He's just played a Yeti on curve. His deck is already reshuffled. I'm being a moron.
Yeah, so, okay. Because that's also partly negated my question, so let's just switch straight off that topic.
Okay, good. I like it.
Yeah, in case you don't know, when a bomb goes into the deck, the Polkelt shuffle gets reshuffled, so then you are no longer in top to bottom order, basically. So the bomb changes the Polkelt effect as soon as one swung.
I even said it 45 seconds ago, and then just new game. No, vacate my brain. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Don't matter anymore. Yeah, the brawl going to come down from this highly aggressive opening, honestly. Hunterace just rocking the tempo style of this deck, which it can play. And I know you're a big fan of, honestly, sort of maybe educating a lot of viewers about that. Is like, you can just play minions out on curve and kill your opponent. It does work.
It can, indeed. And honestly, it's the kind of alternate strategy that you do need a lot of the time. In matchups like this, because we just mentioned, slightly too late, the interaction between Wrench Caliber and Polkelt, which busts up some of your win conditions. There's also the interaction between Wrench Caliber and Tortolan Pilgrim, where sometimes one of your spots is going to get eaten up by a bomb. Right? So that you don't necessarily get your potion. Your potion that you want to cast to start duplicating your turtles can just get eaten by a bomb if you're pressured into doing that on turn 8, for example. So you don't even necessarily have guaranteed potion loops in this matchup, on top of the fact that they're able to shuffle your deck on demand.
Right. And now, most importantly, Glory having that Horde Pillager, which means he gets to re-equip the weapon and keep on swinging, which is pretty much the plan. Because the rest of his hand, although Blastmaster Boom, very, very powerful for at least what I would say a finishing blow. The minion base of his hand is actually kind of rough once these freezes could start happening, right? Because great, you play Deathwing, it gets frozen, it gets frozen, it gets frozen. It just doesn't do anything if Huntrace can get to that. So very important that Glory can keep these weapon swings happening as often as possible. Crossball, though, not a bad pickup whatsoever. And now this is just another question mark, isn't it, for Huntrace? If he's been a bit more experimental with this build, and he might not have played this list too much, or just Turtle Mage in general, maybe he's not put enough hours in, then these are kind of those dire or awkward situations that you need to feel comfortable knowing what to do. And I'm just excited to see how Huntrace executes this, because as soon as you get to turn 8 and you have a Tortolan, the game opens up, doesn't it? Because you start to think, right, what can I do?
Yeah, on top of which he already has, he's at turn 8, he has Turtle, and he's still held on to Coin here as well. But again, we're kind of in Bizarro world here, because Huntrace just has an Antonidas in his deck for some reason, so I'm not sure what that really entails in terms of whether he wants to use the Coin or not. There's the interaction I was talking about where he missed out on his Blizzard. in this situation. I think Potion was the one he was looking for anyway, and he will now coin it out. But again, here, he could just potentially miss Potion off this turtle, which means he then no longer has any turtles in his hand. He didn't. He hit it.
But now, though, Glory has a ton of damage, and then there's another Wrench Caliber off the top. He had the Corsair Cash, so you could say the Wrench Caliber is actually kind of a bad draw because he wouldn't have the. I guess it makes him spend more less mana overall, but maybe it would have drawn a better card to pair with this. But the Wrench Caliber, regardless of the fact how he got to it, can equip it and draw it, and that is huge.
This is what, 15 damage going face, followed by a potential Whirlwind. So 5 more from here. Glory,
and there's
hunterace at 9, and then Whirlwind's ripping.
And even if he doesn't get there, there's just a plenty of bombs.
hunterace dies a lot of the time here, but if he doesn't, he's actually set up pretty nicely. Oh, that's a tough decision. Obviously, Glory cannot see the hand here, and I absolutely can. I'm staring at Kartut Defender and a handful of one-mana turtles. Glory doesn't have that luxury.
I would have trusted the bombs every day of the week if that was me, but you can see why. Glory has Grom, he has Whirlwind. That does 10 damage. Kartut, though. And I think Glory already regretting his decision, as you can see.
And now, once you've got to this part of the game, it's rare that you're going to get burned by one of the turtles missing a spell in this position. Because, for example, off that first one, if he'd have missed the potion, he would have just cast the freeze, right? And then that was his freeze turtle, and then he plays the next one, and then he needs potion off the next one. So you have to miss it multiple times in a row. Because this board state is specifically bombs, he can still get burned by getting Blizzard when he needs Frost Nova. So here, for example, this combination of 3... This one he can get in trouble because he didn't get the Frost Nova.
But he can go again!
But this one he can go Potion, but now this is the clutch one. Okay, perfect. That actually worked out weirdly perfectly for hunterace in the end. Okay, sure. That bomb was like, you what, mate? You want to start?
Yeah, because of the way that happened, I can't even work out who really won that fight. There is still Whirlwind here. So Glory could Whirlwind, then suddenly there's the Kartut. And the second one doesn't appear till post-bomb, right?
No.
Bombs are in play first, so their death rattle should resolve first, yes.
Yeah. So the second one won't get hit by bombs.
Or Reborn in this case, I guess. It's not actually the death rattle that's making it reappear, but you get the point.
What now?
Like Glory, this time Glory knows he's getting looped from here, right?
Yeah, but doesn't he just? Yeah, he can just swing.
Just Grom, swing, Whirlwind.
Yeah. Grom, Whirlwind, swing to kill off the 3/1, probably, and then that should be enough damage, right? Yeah,
it should. Yeah, I agree.
There we go. Okay. For a second, I was like, what can he do? Kill him is the answer. As Glory evens up this match 2-2, we're gonna go to a final game, Sol, and what a weird series. It feels like I don't know. It feels like at least we need to warm up, but maybe this deck from Hunterace needs to get some work done as well, because this I don't know. It's tough because this is match 1. We've seen it played once, twice now on stream, I guess. So it's very easy to like judge it quickly, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be doing work right now.
Yeah, it's classic me, to be honest. I can talk you through all the really complex interactions at the end of the game. I'll just forget what Wrench Caliber does at the beginning. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It was interesting for me that hunterace there at the end, and this might have been partly down to his potion sequencing, or rather which option he was missing when the bomb was appearing at the end. But he also had opportunity to like make and play more Kartut defenders that turn. Potentially even start pinging them over the coming turns and have more waves of protection in play. But he also did get scammed a little bit by that bomb. Like, he traded the bomb, and then the bomb took 4 health off the board. It took 4 health off the board, which is like super unlikely to happen in that position. It took 1 off the board like the vast majority of the time. So definitely a really, really interesting end game. But yeah, still not seeing the real shining, glowing neon sign as to why the Antonidas package is in hunterace's deck.
It's going to come down to just this. It's a mage mirror in class, but not in archetype. It's Glory bringing the, I would say, slightly more generally popular, like tempo mage from him. And they're off to a pretty good start as well. Sorcerer's Apprentice, a double studies. Just needs something else to really pay off that apprentice to get cooking.
Mm-hmm. This is a very contested matchup as well. It's generally, I think it was Lorinda that first came up with the idea that Mage is the new rogue, where every Mage player now thinks that their deck is the nuts and beats everything, right? So it's like, Casey arguing that his build of Tempo Mage is nutty, Orange arguing that his build of Tempo Mage is nutty. The Turtle Mage players think they win every matchup because they're just so wrinkly-brained as Turtle Mage players. But even specifically this matchup head-to-head is super hotly contested between the two camps as to which one of them feels ahead.
Yeah, and honestly, that card helps hunterace a lot. Imprisoned Observer just locks out so many good early setups from Mage when you assume, okay, they've not got a good answer for this, let's play a Sorceress out, try and get that early payoff. Well, as soon as this Imprisoned Observer's down, not only does Glory have to work out how to deal with a Yeti effectively, but also, does he just pass into this? Yeah, he has got hold of the Thalnos, so he's going to get a draw at least, but it just doesn't feel great to know your board's going to get AoE'd if you choose to make one.
Yeah, I like the sequencing here just for mana efficiency as well. Very nice. Hunterace could choose to just jam a Frost Nova on the bottom of his deck here and just be done with it. Forget about it from that point, so he knows that he's not going to draw out. But he has already used one charge up. So this is kind of chewing through his charges quite rapidly if he chooses to shuffle, and I think for that reason he just decides to draw it.
You don't pick the one.
Yeah, Hunterace going to build up a board of his own as well. Double one maker.
Oh!
Hang on.
Who's the Tempo Mage now, Tempo Mage?
Be like, you just called me Tempo Mage, so me. Yeah, maybe this is the plan all along. Hunterace can just choose which archetype to play in any given game.
I mean, you generate a lot of evocations in Hearthstone right now if you're playing Mage. I will admit that. So yeah, maybe just jamming Sorcerer's Apprentice in your deck is very
correct.
reasonable. Yeah.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Genius deck building, Raven. I'm sold. It's incredible.
All we needed to know.
Yeah.
Not even a full game sample size of this kind of play, and we're sold.
Yeah. Draconic, always nutty when it comes off the Evo.
Ray of Frost as well, being able to clear up this Ras is a huge deal.
All he needed here was Font of Power into a Cyclone, and we were cooking.
I would have gone nuts. I would have stopped casting, built the deck, and started queuing it.
Yeah.
This is clearly the deck of the century.
Runs out on me.
Ray of Frost once, retain the Ray of Frost and ping, potentially? It's interesting, right? Because he's essentially developed a secret as opposed to having a Ray of Frost in his hand. Doing it this way, like, is a Vaporize more important than a Ray of Frost in his hand? He could have done it and just preserved the 2 mana. It's kind of interesting.
A secret might be more important than the Ray of Frost in
That's
hand,
true.
right?
That's true.
So
Yeah,
Glory
good point.
does have to dissect this.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unfun when you know it could be literally any secret that Mage can play.
Yep.
What to do? What to do?
Also spent 2 mana on spells, I guess, which is relevant since he has Learn Draconic as well. As opposed to spending it on ping.
So there's Entity. Gone. That was the issue as well. I was, for a second, just staring at is this just a good board to Jandis into then? But then there are secrets that punish that, and also just the board kind of punishes that already, because even if it's a good Jandis outcome, having, 7 power on board for Hunterace to go into is still pretty strong.
Right. You do have to very rapidly rewire your brain in this situation, right? Because I think we're all hard-coded as Hearthstone players now, just to say, oh my goodness, that's a Sorcerer's Apprentice. Allow me to murder it with the force of 1,000 suns the second that I see it, right? It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter in this deck. You can just leave it on board. What does it do? You can actually just ignore it. It's a bluff pen wrap.
Now you've seen the evocation cast, it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because you've seen that. I know he generated it, but now that you know there's no generated cards in hand, then yeah, I completely agree. Again, though, this is just a ton of pressure. The Divine Shield, pretty nice outcome there for hunterace as well.
Can we just quickly acknowledge how sick this Jandis was?
Yeah.
Alright, it's a nice answer, potentially.
Also, the combustion in hand is really nice for Glory too.
Very true.
Just get spell damage from the Solarian if he wants it, but he's going to go for one maker instead. Oh! It's like the Jandis killers, aren't they? The arcane missiles. It's like, right, ping everything once and we'll see what happens. A little bit underwhelming, though. I think he really wanted something to hit that Divine Shield, right? He could use the combustion to just clean everything up.
There it goes.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Gets 3 damage in both directions, is kind of leaving up a 6-1 here because of the lack of spell damage, but no big deal.
Why did he leave a 6-1 instead of a 4-1 up?
Did he do that?
He killed the Observer, right? Traded into the Observer?
Traded right instead of left, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a potion target, right, I guess? He's not actually worried about his own health total. And he wants to kill the higher value potion target. I actually think that's probably correct.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. I'm just saying okay now. But, yeah, the old
Can you cast
thing
with just the word okay in different tonalities?
Okay. So, I think I could, actually. I'm not going to, because you would see me for the rest of the day, because I'd probably get sacked. But I think I could, and that's the important part. This is a huge, aggressive board here from Glory, but hunterace, again, has doesn't have infinite freezes, but will do soon.
Will do soon indeed, yeah. This is always a crucial turn, is whether they can just safely turtle for a potion on turn 8 without being under threat of death. And hunterace definitely felt like he was able to do that here. He's under a lot of threat, don't get me wrong, but threat of death? No, absolutely not. Back to 30, hits the vape with the right minion. 15 goes face.
One thing to note, though, is you cannot always reliably just block out this kind of mage with freezes, right? Because they can generate spells, they can generate things to actually get through there. The only problem is these Kartuk defenders basically pushing hunterace back to 30 every time means that although Glory can access burst damage through spells, is it ever going to be enough? Actually, I think these Tyrion weapons are massive right now.
Well, the problem is that even as Glory, hunterace has Kartuk defenders in his combo, right? So that's a pretty big problem. And now, with the Prime drawn as well, if it actually somehow gets ridiculously messy, he can just start throwing Primes into his combo instead and just potion a bunch of those. But I think with the Kartuk freeze loop, we are on the march towards inevitability at this point.
And realistically, because we're about to see a lot of the same turn, I think. Realistically, what has to actually happen for Glory here to have any chance? And is there a chance? Because unless hunterace misclicks for whatever reason, this looks pretty solid to me.
It does. There's a few things that you can do with Mage. The first solution is your Solarian Prime. That can just make anything, right? It can cast Puzzle Box, and through that, all things are possible. And beyond that, if you want to dig deeper into strategy, okay, hunterace already playing around the scenario, which is generating freeze is actually a lot of the time more important than generating burn damage, especially when they put Kartuk Defender in their combo, right? Because you put them in a position where it's like, okay, they've filled their board with turtles, maybe I can generate a Frost Nova, and that causes them to have one turn off where they're not really able to do that much, and I can capitalize on it from there. But hunterace, you see, already playing around that scenario by not only giving himself the option to ping himself off a minion this turn at the start of his turn, but also just immediately doing it at the end of his last turn. so he has maximum board spaces to play with if he needs them.
And this is where I will say, from my experience playing this deck, this is where it's easy to switch off, but you can't. Like, if you ping the wrong minion, if you don't click the right spell to end on, or if you use your mana in a weird way, like, the second you mess this turn up, you generally lose, at least in my experience. Maybe that's just me. But I do feel like these turns, although they look, oh, it's just a given, Hunterace has won, and, you know, he's going to be able to stall this out forever, you can mess up, and not just Hunterace, anyone can actually mess up these turns, and if your opponent is paying attention, then they can just seize the win sometimes. It's maybe rare, but Hunterace does just have to keep his focus here.
Yes, agreed. Actually, this mortuary machine is actually somewhat annoying for Hunterace.
Yeah. He doesn't want his turtles to really stick, right?
No, he does not want a bunch of 1/1 reborns on his board. They are a little bit awkward in terms of occupying board presence right now. So this is now the kind of spot where Glory has some outs.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of the exact thing you're looking for. Because again, this time Hunterace did not free himself up a board space with his ping on that turn. It looks like Glory is just going to let Hunterace have his fun again on this turn.
What to do?
Yeah, it's tough, because for a second I was thinking, well, you don't want to ping one of the reborn Cartuts, but it's like, well no, because then he can trade more off to make more board space. So
yeah, exactly.
Even
not
though
only that,
normal...
but you're just adding damage to the board as well, right? By doing that.
Right, and it's like normal Hearthstone brain. It's like make the board, like, you know, reduce down the reborns, and you can maybe get an AoE clear. But that doesn't work in this matchup, especially in this scenario. I do actually like that.
Level 7. Ping your own minion. I see.
Yeah. What would your opponent react with then? It's also one of the issues where I think Glory wants Cyclone to generate him like a bot. I'm sorry to say it, but it's a thing. And with that, he needs some space on board to actually play the Cyclone.
Yeah. I do like this, by the way. I was just leading up to when Hunterace was going to take this turn, where he just potentially... there's a minion with Taunt. Casper, hello, you're a world champion. You should know how Taunt works.
I wanted the Innkeeper to pop up there. That would have been perfect.
Oh, Casper, world champion. Doesn't know what basic keywords do. So yeah, through multiple blizzards, he's actually able to take the full clear this turn and actually just be in charge in terms of tempo and win the game that way, which I do like. I think happens in many more games at a high level of this deck than people might expect, where you just win on minions. You don't actually have to activate any kind of combo apart from just the basic turtle potion combo. Right. But I do also think Hunterace potentially missequenced a little bit, because I think he only remembered that his minions were getting reborn as the first one happened, and that's what led to his confusion with the Tyrion and the Taunt minion and when to kill the mortuary machine.
And also a small note as well, he only has one Tortolan in hand right now, which, you know, he's still relatively safe with all these Cartuts, but whenever you've only got one, you know there can't be an error, right? Because there's only currently just the one there, so he has to make sure he can dupe it next turn.
Yeah.
Counterspell, he achieved too much there. Cone of Cold is like a bit of an AoE clear if Glory wants it, or at least an AoE softening. This is where I want to see Glory float mana, 3 mana, and be like, fuck this. And you just know it's going to heal.
Yeah, I mean, Glory's certainly doing his due diligence here. He does have a lot of random generation to get through in his hand, which, of course, the aforementioned puzzle box can make magical things occur. But it is slowly slipping away little by little because, yeah, now Hunterace has all the options in the world here. He can continue to push the board clear with the blizzards. He can push face damage. The fact that his 1/1 is now getting reborn is actually kind of nice for him because it actually represents a good chunk of damage in play now.
Right. Now he's got all the well, he's got 2 turtles now, so he's a little bit safer of that hiccup that can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think I imagine we're going to see a reasonable chunk of Turtle Mage over the course of this weekend. And I think, if you are planning on watching a good chunk of this, then you will start to see differences in players that have dedicated a lot of time to this archetype and players who haven't. Because turns like this, I think, will be actually visibly more comfortable for certain players than others. Because they're not easy turns, even though they may look super powerful. They're not easy.
I think hunterace largely at a loss what to do with that last 3 mana. I kind of like getting some of the cards out of your hand that you're not going to duplicate, potentially. Like, for example, just playing Farseer there and then trading off Farseer on the next turn, just so you don't have a Farseer anymore. That is kind of counterable by freeze effects on the other side. But I think it's a good opportunity, potentially, for hunterace to just spend some additional mana, get some cards out of hand in this spot. Because he doesn't have many spaces to operate with, right? You see it where he's only kind of duping into the 3 far right slots of his hand right now most of the time.
And it's tricky, isn't it? Because he does have to make sure that he knows what he's duplicating. Because as the turns progress, that does change.
Yep.
But yeah, I do agree. I think also starting to ping away some of his own things is going to be important.
Yep. Yeah, he's been doing that pretty well throughout, I would say.
Yep. That's an unfun swing of the old Ashbringer there.
It is.
One that had to happen. Glory at least has to just, okay, the board's clear. I'm going to face it all over again, but at least for now I can look at an empty board and say that I am, air quotes, winning the game of Hearthstone on tempo.
You're in my hands now.
See hunterace now out of Frost Novas, so he's just down to Blizzard and Potion, but he is desperately holding on to that last charge of his weapon just to make sure that he cannot at any point hit that critical double Potion draw in his own hand, which will completely break up his combo. He does, of course, draw a double Blizzard as well from this point. He's in a little bit of trouble, but nowhere near as much.
Wonder how close Glory is to having Reno active, because Reno would be sick on this board. Look at that.
It's taken him some time to chew his way through that board state in its entirety, but he has got there in the end. Multiple Blizzards over the course of multiple turns. Yeah, I do want to keep making the point that you will see more Turtle Mage games won like this than you will imagine. Like, hunterace's deck kind of has to win the game like this because he doesn't play War Mage, he doesn't play Cloud Prince, he doesn't actually have a damage dealer in his deck outside of the Antonidas combo. So this is kind of what he does if he doesn't actually activate the Archmage Antonidas combo. But, even without that damage dealer, you can just lock out a bunch of matchups to the point where, 7 1/1s on board every turn, plus infinite 1-mana Frost Nova in your hand, that wins 90% of games of Hearthstone. That's really hard to beat.
Infinite healing as well, right? Like I said, it removes the burn plan, because you just can't, they're going to heal up every single turn. Exactly. Look at this, just Frost bolts into 1/1 subtle. I don't want to look.
He just has to play spells. Yeah, he just has to play spells so he can get more stuff off his Mana Cyclone.
We've got a game of Hearthstone, subtle. I see a Yogg box.
Oh, surely not, Raven.
Oh, you were going to say a different shush word then. But you didn't, so good job. The box could open up everything. Quick, hunterace, you have to go for lethal. Play the prime. Let's go.
Prime.
Oh. To be fair to Glory, people may like box, people may hate it, but this is what he has to do to try and win the game. I think it was the at least one of his goals here. Yeah. Once the game came to this board state, of course, once hunterace had this.
Agreed. There's a few iterations you can go through with Prime, which I think are the most common way you get out of this position when you're this far behind as the Tempo Mage. Like, for example, if you generate Potion of Illusion and your Prime freezes the board. If your Prime freezes the board, it's very hard for Turtle Mage to actually kill your Prime from that point. Like, they don't really have cards that do that. They want to trade minions and have board spaces to Blizzard 3 or 4 times to be able to remove it a lot of the time. So quite often you can get your own Prime to stick and then start doing, you know, very similar things as to what they're trying to do to you with duplicating multiple Primes. But
also, you could just create them with studies, right? As well, if you happen to just roll a lot of studies and I got primed 7 times the other day on Ladder in one game. One game.
Rookie numbers, Raven. Rookie numbers.
7? Come on! 7 in one game is not rookie numbers. There, Glory not going for it quite yet. Just going to go for that Flame Strike. Now the Reno was active, I believe, there.
It was,
I think it was yellow, yeah.
Yep.
So Reno is active again. It's not going to be game-winning, but it's another card that pretty much clears the board and has to be dealt with on hunterace's side. The only problem as well is Glory is, because that Reno's active, you can tell, quite close to fatigue right now.
My hand is too
Wait! That's his win condition! Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's funny.
His hand was full. He had the option to either use his last spear charge, which he doesn't want to do, and then just put Antonidas on the bottom of his deck anyway, or just burn it. Like, I think it's fair to say, win, lose, or draw, it's not been an impressive showing for the Archmage Antonidas in this build of the deck.
Again, hunterace just doing it all over again, and I think that is that's plan A, isn't it? Keep doing this until your opponent makes you have to think of another way to win.
Yeah.
Is he still only on one? Okay, sure. I wasn't 100% sure then at a glance whether he was going to get the cards up, but yeah, it was the first down, right?
What have they done to me?
Okay, one less board space to play with, at least in the near future for hunterace.
Yeah, but +1 hand space to play with, which, you know, I do like. I like the fact that the one thief is now gone, the Farseer is far gone, the Imprisoned Observer is now going as well. I think it's something that potentially should have been done quite some time ago.
Well, I think most importantly, though, the one thief and even to a certain extent the one makers are there for the Antonidas, right? Because there obviously aren't spells to proc it. And I think until he saw the Antonidas burn, it was his backup plan, right?
That's fair.
Have that one thief generate a spell, same with the one makers, maybe keep spells off them, and then have something to proc Antonidas with. But with it being burned, no reason to hold on. So I completely agree. I think now was the time.
You're in my hands now.
I do wonder at what point Glory's going to press the box. Because anything else, just looking at his hand, is not going to cut it, right?
I mean, he's literally going to have to at some point. This sequencing is a little bit bizarre from hunterace because he's cast spells first and then put a 6/6 dragon on his board and then put a 1/1 in his hand and
If hunterace wins this game, I want that 1 mana 1/1 dragon boy to be the lethal hit because that is just glorious.
Yeah, he's made a bit of a mess of this end game, Raven. All right, and box time.
Oh yeah, I'll be quiet. I'll bring my point up in a minute.
This is a big fat box full of nothing so far. Wow, this is like objectively the most nothing box I've ever seen in my life.
It's actually bad.
Yeah. Sick! He mind controlled a 1/1. It has
Potion
charge now! No, it
He's
doesn't!
got one in his hand!
Just kidding!
Quick, Glory, combo him back. Oh, wait, it won't work.
Really? That's what we waited this long for? That puzzle box?
Evocation! Let's go.
Time runs out on me.
Oh, God. I will say, though, now that that mess happened with the box, this is what I was talking about right at the start of this game, and maybe even the series, where it will become evident who has played games with this and who is rusty, or not experienced, should I say, versus rusty. Because, like you said, some of these sequencing, some of these turns have not looked as clean as they could be.
No.
And I think we definitely have some players in this tournament that are bringing this archetype that will be very clean with the deck.
But, like, honestly, hunterace is such a fast learner that if he continues to do well, against the odds of how he's currently playing the deck, and makes it to day 2, day 3, and he gets back on stream, he'll probably just be the best Turtle Mage player you've ever seen in your life by that point. Like, that's generally how quickly I think he can pick it up.
I mean, he isn't a player who makes the same mistake twice, right? And it's definitely a deck that you remember the mistakes with as well. So I do agree. I'm sure his play will tighten up over the course of the Masters Tour. But for now, the big problem here is, although Apexis Blast is decent, it's not good enough because the Evocation is just not going to have enough space in hand. And what a way for this to end. It's going to be the game. That's going to be the series. hunterace takes it in what is going to be a pretty common matchup this weekend, I imagine. So if you enjoyed that, there's probably plenty more where that came from. What a weird series, Solon. What a weird ending to that series.
Yeah, completely absurd. I think at the end, that also means that the tracking tracked over the prime from the puzzle box, because we didn't actually see it in the end as well. So in terms of worst boxes you've ever seen in your life, that one's absolutely up there. But honestly, like, settle in, because we're going to see a lot of those very kind of complicated Turtle Mage endgames. It's a serious factor in this tournament. Casper clearly has some work to do. hunterace clearly has some work to do on getting things optimal, but he had such a clean setup at the point where his loop began that it's honestly quite hard to mess it up from that point if you understand at least how the basic interaction works. He's so far ahead in that position because he was so secure with so much health, and he had Kartut Defender in his loop already, that as long as you're making at least one turtle and at least one turtle per potion and at least one Kartut per turn,
right,
it was going to be very difficult to mess up from that position. And hunterace tried a little bit, I'll be honest, but he didn't manage it in the end.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those turns where for some reason you have to like play the turtle and blizzard or freeze and hope it lives to then go the turn after. Those are the situations where it can go wrong. But as we saw, hunterace was never really under threat enough to have to risk that, and it just made it pretty steady overall. That was just one match from many of round number 1 of Masters Tour Montreal, of course, but Sol's already mind blown. We are going to be covering some more matches from round 1 before we kick off round 2, but in the meantime, we're just going to swap Sol out for someone else and mix it up just a little bit. So we'll be right back to continue Masters Tour Montreal.
Masters Tour Montreal Online is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.